The following is a recorded program of an actual stroke support group. The comments expressed are the personal opinions of the participants and not necessarily the opinions of the producers, sponsors, or the broadcasters of this show. This program is not to be used as a way to diagnose or treat any medical condition that you may have. Please consult your doctor or healthcare professional before making any changes to your current medical routine.
Stroke.
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 It comes out of the blue, sometimes without warning.
But those who survive it
should never lose hope.
A stroke can be life-changing.
But it is also
a new beginning.
Because for all survivors, there is still a beautiful life after stroke.
Hey everybody, welcome to Life After Stroke. I'm Christopher Ewing. Today we're broadcasting from home base at Providence St. Joseph's Medical Center in Burbank, California. And with us today, we've got a gentleman who runs an organization that I was just so blown away to just witness and see. His name is David Korse. He is the CEO of Abilities Expo. And Abilities Expo, kind of think auto show mixed with home show, mixed with products and vendors that have everything to do with people who maybe have some disabilities or are serving the communities of stroke and MS and spinal cord injuries and everything in between. And it's just a fabulous, fabulous weekend event where people can come and see all kinds of helpful items and things like that. David, first of all, welcome to the show. Second of all, am I kind of close in my description of this? Because what you put on and what you've put together is just such an amazing thing.
That was a way better description than I normally give. So.
David had an event, and I had no idea about this event. My mom saw something on television, like a commercial, about the fact that the Abilities Expo was happening in Los Angeles at the convention center, and it was like, maybe we should go. It seems like it'd be kind of neat, and there was some mention of stroke or something like that. So of course our interest was piqued as to what could this be about. And so we went there, and I just was not prepared for what this was, and just what an awesome service you provide to people who maybe have some mobility difficulties. Like I say, it's kind of like a home show or a builder's show, like for home items, but scaled to the world of various disabilities or motor functions and things like that. I guess I don't know. That's kind of the best way I can kind of put that.
You forgot to mention part Disneyland, but
part
otherwise,
Disneyland, yeah, right.
Otherwise,
because it even has a rock climbing wall. So absolutely. So we're going to talk to you about that, and throughout the show, we're going to have some various vendors who I thought just had fabulous booths. So this is kind of like my version of Oprah's favorite things. So this is Christopher's favorite things. I'm kind of calling this show the best of the expo. And so throughout the show here, we're going to talk to David, and we're going to talk to some of the vendors that were there, and so that they can kind of tell you guys what they do and things like that, because there's just so many things there that I think all of you guys that listen to the show every week should really know about, because there's some fabulous services that these vendors provide that you might not otherwise ever really know about. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. I first want to start off, and you guys know I'm a crier, so I'm not even going to apologize anymore, because I'm not sorry, and especially with what I have to say now. Many of you who listen to the show every week may notice that we didn't have a show last week, and that's because we were going to have John, who's on the show every week, and his wife come on, and they were going to talk about their business, that they have a business. Is it Home Helpers? Yes. And where basically you guys go and go to people's homes and help them if they're elderly, or if they've had a medical problem or something. You guys would go and
or stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
Alzheimer's.
Also, okay.
Too. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So last week, and I told John and his wife a few weeks ago, I just learned about it a few weeks ago. I said, you've had this business, you didn't even tell me about this business. So well, why don't you guys come on the show and talk about it, because I think that's great. And so I talked to John about it, and then he called his wife and got her on the phone, and I talked to her on the phone. It was just a couple weeks ago. And so last week, the two of you were going to come on the show, and before the show, a few days before the show, you sent me a text message.
Yeah. It was Saturday, and she died. And the coroner said stroke or something happened to her, and she died.
So when she died, she just died in her sleep, huh?
Yes, and it was peaceful for her, but the kids and I know.
Oh my goodness, I know, man. Gosh, baby boy, I tell you, man, I know. And my Evan, who I still haven't had a chance to meet, your mom was telling me that they were very close, and so.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
and it's sad stuff.
Yeah.
It's sad stuff.
Man, I've told you, we are like a family here, and I've told you that when you stub your toe, we all say, ouch, bro. And man, my heart is just so broken for you and for the kids.
Yeah.
And, I'm not even going to get into it. Basically, as I've told you several times, your mom is here today. I told her, it's not even a matter of asking if you need anything. Do you understand?
Yes.
And I know you being Mr. Lieutenant Colonel, and your mom already told us too. She already ratted you out and said, problem is he's not going to ask for help, Look,
yeah.
man, it's not even a matter of asking John. It's a matter of saying, hey, you know what? Can you help me? Point and shoot. We're there, bro. Okay?
Yep.
So, I wasn't even going to bring this up today, but, as I told you, there's people listen to the show that know you by name, that, have talked about you because they hear you on the show and stuff like that. So just know that, and I'm sure all the listeners that are listening right now from all over the world, I'm sure their heart is just as heavy as mine is right now, because, you're on the show every week, and we've all kind of experience each other together, they've heard about Evan, as we talk about him often and everything else. And so I'm sure that a lot of them send their thoughts and prayers to you, man, through the radio waves here. So, I just thought it would be good that we just kind of spend a couple minutes and just kind of lift up Jenny and ask that everybody, keep you and the rest of the family in their prayers. And
it's sad stuff, but she was a Christian.
Amen.
And she is home now.
Absolutely. Well, she's having a lot more fun than we are. So there you go. I hear you, man. Well, I am a Jesus freak, so I know what you mean, and I'm glad to hear that. And so anyway, we're gonna, I think we're gonna take a break. So I just want to take a break, and we'll be back, everybody. Hey everybody, welcome back to Life After Stroke. I'm Christopher Ewing. Today we are talking with David Korse. He is the CEO of Abilities Expo. And David, you know what? I've tried to put it in my own words, and I'm sure you can do it even way better than I can. Explain to everybody who's listening just what Abilities Expo is.
Sure. Well, you did a pretty good job. It's an event for 3 days over a weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We hold 7 of them around the United States and 1 in Canada. So we're doing a new show just about every 6 weeks around the country year-round. The events are designed for people who have a disability, family members, caregivers for someone with a disability, parents who may have a child with a disability. It's an opportunity to see companies that have products and services to offer that might make things easier or more efficient, help gain more independence. We have a ton of not-for-profit organizations that attend to share free resources, government groups that are sharing free resources. It's just a 3-day get-together of the disability community in each of the zip codes we service, where people can come together and shop and network, try new things, be exposed to adaptive sports or adaptive dance or rock climbing.
Sure.
Just find out things they can do to make things easier or better or more independent in their lives.
Yeah. Where did this idea come from?
Should never have happened.
No.
In 1978, there was a guy who has since passed away. His name is Richard Warman, lived in northern San Diego County, was a post-polio survivor, so he was a wheelchair user. And some of his friends and he were kind of annoyed and frustrated because there was such a lack of product diversity at their local retailer. They carried one kind of wheelchair and one kind of this and one kind of that, and they wanted to see more selection. And for those of you who don't remember, but in 1978, there wasn't an internet. You couldn't go online and look for anything. You had to find out and see it face-to-face or maybe in a catalog. So he came up with this stupid idea, crazy notion. He decided he would put on an expo in Los Angeles, invite all the manufacturers to the expo, so he and his friends could go shopping. That was the sole motivation for doing it. Accidentally turned into a viable business opportunity. So he and his family ran the shows for about 10 years, got a little bit too big for them, so they sold it to a small event organizer who kept them involved. And then over the next 10 years, that organizer was acquired by a much larger company who wasn't so much trying to acquire Abilities Expo as some of the other things they were doing. That company got swallowed up by an even larger company. And after growing for 10 years, it kind of went into decline for the next 15 years.
Wow.
My business partner and I come from a trade show and conference background. We're getting close to retirement age, actually a little past retirement age.
Oh, please.
We're looking for something to do to keep our minds from turning to mush. So let's just find something that would be fun to do. And we found out about Abilities Expo, and the last company that bought them just didn't have a place for them. It was not part of what they wanted to do. So they said, we're going to sell these things. We know you guys are looking for something. Would this be of interest? And we went and saw the event. And it took, 17 minutes, 18 minutes, and we just fell in love. We just got sucked in. We saw a 5-year-old kid in a wheelchair with cerebral palsy who didn't know he had a disability. He was just screaming around the floor and just going 100 miles an hour. And we thought it would be a fun thing to do that would make us feel good about ourselves. We bought the events about 11 years ago. There were 2 at that time. Now there are 8. And this part-time keep our brains fresh thing has turned into a full-time holy crap.
Wow.
But we're doing all of them. We're having a great time. And it makes us feel good to be part of this community.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I thought that was really kind of cool is I don't recall seeing anybody having to purchase any tickets.
Well, they could purchase the tickets. It just doesn't cost any money. We thought it was important to make it accessible at every level. So it's accessible in that it doesn't cost anything. It's accessible that we try to put it in a venue that is on one level. There a lack of elevators and escalators, hopefully, to make it a little bit easier. We try to find places where we have accessible and hopefully free parking. Some places like Los Angeles, that isn't the case.
Well, yeah, right. Minor little problem.
Just wish the city would share some of the parking revenue with us, but they haven't wanted to do that. But other than that, we don't charge for anything. We don't charge for admission. We don't charge for our workshops. We don't charge to attend the demonstration events in the events arena. If you're visiting the show as you and your mom did,
oh boy,
just come on down.
And it's an experience. It really is. And the workshops were great. The demonstrations were great. I mean, you had fun stuff. You had stuff for kids. I mean, it was just really just amazing. Tell me about some of the kind of the cool stories that have happened. And earlier we were talking about some of them. And it was just really, really fun stories of things that have happened as a result of people coming to these expos.
Sure. If you'd come to the LA show a few weeks ago, the one you and your mom saw, we had a 20-foot adaptive climbing wall. The guy that runs the wall, former mountain climber who had an accident, broke his back in a wheelchair and decided he should still be able to climb. That's what he'd like to do. So he worked with some engineers, built, looks like just a little chin-up or pull-up bar with some cams. I weigh 180 pounds. If I can do a 36-pound pull-up for 6 inches, I can go up. So most paraplegics can do that. And so we can take somebody who doesn't have much mobility and literally let them climb this 20-foot wall. And there's a bell on the top, and they can ring the bell and do something they wouldn't normally be able to do. So one of our salespeople has a granddaughter on the autism spectrum, terribly afraid of heights, doesn't like going on a swing set or a slide. And yet, because people were cheering her on and there was lots of positive emotion around, Isabella wound up going to the top of the damn mountain and ringing the bell, and her mom and her grandmother were there and just going sideways. Just couldn't take enough pictures and enough video.
Absolutely. Tell the one about the pony.
The little girl in New York.
The little miniature horse.
So this was our New Jersey show. couple of years ago that we do every May, and there was a 3 or 4 year old little girl. One of our exhibitors was a therapeutic riding program helping people with disabilities ride horses. And they had brought a little therapy mini horse to their booths and put it in a little enclosure so people could just interact with it and touch it and pet it. And this little girl was just putting her hands through the mesh of the wire, and the horse was sniffing her hands. They were touching kind of finger to nose. And everybody was just thought, oh, that's so cute and sweet. And the little girl said, horsey, which everybody thought was more cute and sweet, until we all saw that their mother and father just went into tears. It was the first words the little girl had ever spoken.
So
she had
awesome.
been nonverbal up till then.
So awesome.
So those are some of the aha moments that we have, and they happen at almost every show.
Amazing. How did the vendors find out about how to be a part of this or anything?
If we're doing our job properly, we're finding out all the people that serve the disability community, and one of the members of our team will call and, hey, we're having a show, and this is who comes, and this is what you sell, and it seems like a good fit, and why don't you come join us?
Right.
And the more folks we find, the more we deliver to the show, and as long as we have enough visitors to make it worthwhile, because for them it's a business proposition. So we have to deliver a large enough crowd of the right people. And if we do that successfully, then they come back the next time.
Yeah, well, you're doing that, because when I was there was just thousands of people there. I mean, it just, like I said, reminded you of the auto show, because there were just so many, just thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, that was our best crowd in Los Angeles. We had just under 8,000 adults and about 1,500 kids under 18 that came to at least one of the shows 3 days. So
sure.
There were a ton of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. And you've got a number of different venues and cities that you're going to throughout the country and all over North America. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, it's kind of like a Grateful Dead roadshow.
Yeah, right.
We should do T-shirts.
There you go.
We finished Los Angeles. We're going on to Toronto the first weekend of April. We stay in the Northeast and are going outside of New York City and Edison, New Jersey in the first weekend of May. Third weekend of June, we'll be outside of Chicago. We go then to Houston, Texas, where we'll be at the Energy Stadium the first weekend of August. From there, back to the Northeast to Boston for New England in September. Come back to the West Coast and do San Mateo right near the San Francisco airport in October. And then we beat back down to Dallas to finish the year the second weekend of December. And then third weekend of February, we're back in Los Angeles.
That's right. Well, and little tidbit to tell everybody, we're actually going to be a part of some of this, because we're going to hit the road and we're going to be doing the show from some of your locations. And the first one that I think we're going to pop up at is New Jersey and New York.
You'll have a great time. It's our second largest and second oldest show. It'll be as crowded as what you saw in Los Angeles in a completely different environment. This is a building that used to be an industrial distribution center, which was turned into a suburban expo center about 25 years ago. So no more soaring ceilings and grandeur. It's a lot of pillars, but a lot of the same exhibitors, a lot of new regional exhibitors. You'll have a good time.
Well, we are definitely looking forward to popping up in New Jersey and New York, since I used to live in New York City for so many years. So it's going to be close to home, and so I'm going to go and hang out with you guys over there. And so we're going to be doing our show from the Abilities Expo in New Jersey, May 3rd through the 5th. We're going to be broadcasting from the venue through the whole weekend, and so it'll be great to meet a lot of you who are in that area, so be sure to stop by our booth and say hi. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to some of the vendors who were at the LA Expo, who are also going to be on the road at some of the other expos, and this is kind of my little list of favorite things, so sit tight, and we'll be right back. Hey, this is Christopher Ewing, and you may have seen on the strokechannel.tv website that we have a very special episode coming up soon on the Life After Stroke radio show. In the coming weeks, we are going to devote an entire episode of Life After Stroke to answering any questions that you may have when it comes to healthcare coverage and health insurance, as well as any legal questions you may have in terms of powers of attorney, living wills, medical directives, and many other topics. We are going to have a lawyer here on the show, as well as professionals from the healthcare industry who, on a daily basis, deal with cutting through red tape when it comes to fighting for patients' benefits through their insurance company, or filing complaints regarding better nursing home care, and much more. So if you have any questions that you'd like to have answered during that episode, just go to www.thestrokechannel.tv and let us know. You can even ask your questions yourself right on the air from the audience if you live in the Burbank area, or you can ask your questions over the phone. You can even submit your questions online at thestrokechannel.tv, and we will ask the professionals your question on your behalf. Either way, this is going to be a very helpful and informative episode. So again, just go to www.thestrokechannel.tv to find out how your questions can be answered on this very important upcoming episode of Life After Stroke. Hey everybody, welcome back to Life After Stroke. I'm Christopher Ewing, and one of the vendors who I met when I was at the Abilities Expo a few weeks ago was a really cool, kind of like a mobility transport kind of thing. It had like this really cool little scooter, and I was like, wow, this is kind of cool, you know? And so I picked up his card, and when I was going back through all the notes of all the cool vendors I met, I was like, wow, you know, I want to have this guy on the show. So with us right now on the phone is Tony Korn. He is the president of Travel Scoot USA. Tony, you there?
Yes, I am, Christopher.
Awesome. Well, you know, Tony, you brag a little bit because you guys have these really cool scooters, and the thing I liked about them is that they were really lightweight, and they could fold up and do all these other cool things. You know, I'll see about getting a video from you guys. I'm sure you guys have some kind of video that we'll put on our website so that the listeners can see exactly what these scooters look like. But they're really cool, really handy. Brag a little bit. Talk a little bit about them.
Well, it doesn't sound like I got that much left to do. You pretty much talked it up. That's our sales pitch. Have a good day, everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
I'm hired, huh?
First of all, I want to give David Korse a shout-out and his organization for putting together the Abilities Expo. It was a great venue, lots of visitors, lots of very interested people, and especially for smaller vendors such as ourselves, it's a great platform to introduce our product. We've been around since 2005 officially. Mm-hmm. The product was invented by a man named Hardy Huber, a German hang glider pioneer, who needed a mobility device for himself. So this isn't some widget somebody came up with as a get-rich-quick scheme. And he is a remarkable designer and engineer. And he came up with this triangular design, which is somewhat reminiscent of a hang glider. It is still, after all these years, the lightest and strongest in terms of strength to weight mobility scooter in the world. It weighs, well, our sales pitch, as it were, is it weighs a whopping 34 pounds. I'm talking about our most popular product, which is the Travel Scoot Deluxe, which just means it's the go anywhere, indoor, outdoor, regular sidewalks as well as cobblestones, ballparks, mobility scooter. Which weighs a whopping 34 pounds, complete with its lithium-ion battery. So that's total operational weight. And we offer a warranty for riders up to 340 pounds in total weight. So that's 10 times the weight of the scooter. And we have many, many customers who weigh considerably more than that. Mm-hmm. And we just, we still extend the warranty with regards to the battery and the electronics and the driveline to them. Just we had to sort of draw the line on the frame somewhere. Right. But this has been, like I said, we're a small company, so we don't advertise a whole bunch. And these are hand-built. Right. We have them manufactured almost completely in Taiwan, and then we do final assembly adjustment and testing in our Chehalis, Washington warehouse.
Right. Now, I kind of liked how they were very portable in that you could kind of fold them up, and they fit kind of in this really cool little case kind of thing, you know? Yeah.
Well, portability is totally unsurpassed. I mean, we're about to, okay, you asked about video, so I'm going to cut to that very quickly. Our YouTube channel is simply Travel Scoot USA. Travel Scoot is one word, and there's no ER on the end, so it's not Travel Scooter. Right. Just look for Travel Scoot, space USA, and we've got a ton of, maintenance videos, little tips on how to operate it, and also, of course, what to do when you first get your Travel Scoot. That is probably the best introduction. Right. We also have pictures of our scooter in various cars. This will fit in any car. Our most recent video is of us getting 3 of these in my buddy's little Porsche Boxster.
Wow.
Let me just give you an idea. If you order the full-size Travel Scoot Deluxe, that's for anybody from about 5 foot on up to, I'd say 6'6". Above that, you start getting a little cramped. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, in any weight range, it arrives in a box that measures 3 foot long by 15 by 12 inches in cross section. So that's the scooter packed in a box with all the stuff that comes with it and some additional accessories.
Now
Chris, Go ahead, Christopher. I just want to touch on this very quickly. We've got a great product and all that, but since you are, life after stroke, I'd kind of like to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
How it pertains to your listenership. The Travel Scoot is, we're very happy with this product, and we make constant minor improvements. There's not a whole bunch to do that much better on this thing, but we do want to inform our potential customers that this is something for people who have discomfort and or maybe fatigue-related walking disabilities, but they still have to be somewhat, you have to have a moderate degree of hand strength, a slight sense of balance, and so on and so forth. And with stroke, as we've learned, as with so many other, health challenges, there are so many different ways it expresses itself. I'm sure I'm not saying anything you would contradict.
Right.
So we really want to talk to people individually when they take a look at our product.
Right. Well, the thing that I think is really useful when it comes to the stroke community is that, a lot of times, you'll have people that maybe have some motor function of disability or deficit when it comes to, like you said, walking long distances and things like that. That, if you're going to go somewhere and you're going to, have some, a lot of walking to do and things like that, this is a really, really cool portable alternative to, like you said, you can throw it in the trunk and down, and away you go. I mean, it's like, I've seen strollers take up more space, really, by the time they're all collapsed and everything, like kid strollers. So, this is kind of a cool thing. And I also want to let everybody know, and I meant to mention this earlier, anybody that you guys are hearing on the show today, this is not like paid advertisement. Because it's starting to sound like, it sounds like a sales pitch. Really, you have not paid me to have you on the show. I haven't paid you to be on the, this is just, this, as I said earlier, this is kind of like my little version of Oprah's favorite things. This is just something cool that I saw you at the show, and you gave this great demonstration to a woman who had some questions about it. And I have to say, it even has a lot of zip to it. You got in it and you were riding around on it. It had some little go to it, It wasn't just like a little kiddie scooter. This thing had some pep. But really, everybody, I really encourage you to check this out if that's one of the needs that you think that you have. This is just kind of, just spreading the word about something that just seems really cool that I think a lot of you listeners might be able to take advantage of if this is something that you're looking for. So tell the website again, Tony, for people to go to find out information.
Very good. I'll do that. It is www, needless to say, .travelscoot.com. Travel Scoot is one word, TravelScoot.com, and that's the international website. Travel Scoot is a German company, and click on order prices, and that will direct you to the various sellers across the globe.
There you go. Okay, and we'll have a link on the strokechannel.tv website for you guys. So definitely, that's very, very cool. Tony, awesome. You have an awesome product, and I just wish you the best, man.
Thank you so much, Christopher.
All right, and everybody sit tight, and when we come back, we've got another vendor who I just really think is very awesome, who has something very, very cool. You won't want to miss this, so sit tight, and we'll be right back. Hey, this is Christopher Ewing with a Life After Stroke health tip. So if you're a stroke survivor, then I'm sure you know the exact date that you had your stroke, maybe even right down to the exact hour and minute. We're often asked by doctors, therapists, and even loved ones, so when did you have your stroke? So that makes the date kind of hard to forget. But do you know the date when you started to show signs of recovery? Like when you were first able to move your leg again or your arm? The times when your brain and body start to show signs of improvement following a stroke are even more important than the day you had your stroke, because these are the times when your body is showing you signs that it is actually healing. And it is also a sign that all of your hard work and therapy is paying off. And those times should be celebrated. I call these moments milestones, and one thing I do that I'd like for you to do is to have a milestone journal where you keep track of all the breakthroughs that happen along your journey towards recovery. For instance, in my milestone journal, while it says April 21st, 2018 is when I had my stroke, I can see that it was May 4th, 2018 when my ankle first started to move again, May 9th when I could close my fingers for the first time, May 23rd when I was able to take a few steps on my own unassisted as I was learning to walk again, and so on. It's very easy for us to remember the one terrible day that we had our stroke, but what about all of the awesome days when we noticed signs that we were actually healing and getting better? So here's what I'd like you to do. Just get a notebook, or I happen to use the Notes app on my phone, and whenever you make a special accomplishment in your recovery, just jot it down, making note of the date, the time, where you were, who was with you, and anything else you want to make note of about that special moment. It's really cool to every now and then just look back and read about some of the breakthroughs or the milestones that you have reached on your road towards recovery from your stroke. We can spend time being bummed about the loss of ability, or we can spend time celebrating the recovery of those abilities as they happen. I say, let's celebrate our recovery and all of the milestones along the way. And if you have a recovery milestone, write us and tell us about it. Just send me an email to mail@thestrokechannel.tv. That's mail@thestrokechannel.tv. And congratulations on your milestones. I'm Christopher Ewing, and this has been a Life After Stroke Health Tip. Hey everybody, welcome back to Life After Stroke. I'm Christopher Ewing. Today our guest is David Korse. He is the CEO of Abilities Expo, which is a really cool expo that is held really all over the country. And it's kind of like a home show mixed with auto show, mixed with fun and family stuff. I mean, it's just really awesome. And it's kind of geared towards helping the mobility of people who maybe have some motor disabilities or motor deficits. Everything from wheelchairs to eating utensils to you name it. But one of my favorite vendors that I saw at this place, David, is with us right now on the phone, and you know her well. And I'm telling you, you guys, this is just so cool. It's just awesome. Her name is Deborah Kerper, and she owns a company called Easy Access Travel, and it is just so cool. And Deborah, I know you're on the phone, so I'm going to let you tell everyone a little bit about this awesome company that you have, and just the fabulous need that you meet for people. It's just so cool.
Thank you, Chris. So I started Easy Access Travel about 27 years ago because I was an amputee and I was also living with lupus, a chronic inflammatory disease. I had a really bad flare-up and was told by my doctors I really couldn't have a 9-to-5 job and I should just kind of do whatever. So I got bored and ended up taking a class at the community college when I was living in Southern California. And lo and behold, it turned out to be the first class in a curriculum to become a travel agent. And as I listened to my fellow students, I found out that being a travel agent meant you could work part-time, you could set your own hours, you could work from home. And then the light went on, and I thought, well, I'm going to specialize in travelers with disabilities. I took this very seriously, and I also took it very slowly and did a lot of research on how to do this. I went to the library. This was pre-internet. I found exactly 4 books on the subject of traveling with disabilities. I actually called all the authors. I spoke to them at length, and I took what I did really to heart, both for my own purposes and to help other people. And it has slowly grown into an extremely successful business where I provide travel assistance for people, both individuals, and we do a lot of group travel.
Yeah, and you know, really what we've heard a lot from people who we've had on the show and people who I've met at support groups and things like that is that a lot of times, you know, after someone has a stroke and things like that, they just kind of become homebodies, you know, they sit in their favorite chair or in the wheelchair, which might not be their favorite chair, but that's the chair they sit in, or whatever. And they just kind of say, well, this is my life now. And I think what is so cool about what you're doing is that you are basically bringing the world back to people. You are like putting them back out into the world and giving them their life back in such a great way, because some of the places that you go are really fabulous places. I mean, Germany, Prague, and cruises and safaris and all kinds of cool stuff. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't believe in just giving into, you know, what we've been dealt. I think we just have to take it and go with it. Mm-hmm. And my mantra is kind of like just doing it differently. So I set myself up as an example. 3 years ago, I became a bilateral amputee. So it was a real game changer. And I write a monthly newsletter, and I talk about my personal experiences. And I think the important thing is to learn how to laugh at yourself. When I first became a double amputee, I fell out of bed a couple of times, and you sit there and you go, oh my gosh, how am I going to get back in the bed?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like first you cry and then you laugh. And I would say the good thing is I'm no longer on the floor. And the first time I flew as a double amputee, I ended up on the floor at the door to the bathroom on Southwest Airlines. My husband goes, oh my gosh, what can I do? And I said, get me somebody young and strong. And the guy across from me, jumped up, and he was able to just pop me back up in the aisle chair. So it's just about, attitude and not giving in, and life is not over.
Sure.
That's the most important thing. Life is not over. We just have to learn to do it a little differently. And the Abilities Expo has been a great venue for me because I have the opportunity for many years now to speak at a lot of their shows across the country. And this is the message I try to convey to everybody. There is a way to do this. There's always more than one way to do something. And we make it happen for people. And that's why the groups are so successful, because I escort all these groups. And I let people use me as an example.
Sure.
If we go and swim with the dolphins or the stingrays, I'll be the first one in. I'll just sit at the edge of the boat and fall into the water.
Well, and that's the thing that I thought was so cool, because when I met you at your booth, I remember there was a gentleman there who was in a wheelchair, and he was like so surprised that there were these opportunities that were available to him. I mean, you were showing him all the places that he could go, and how you can assist, helping him along his journey through the trip and things like that. And he was just like, wow, you could just see his eyes were really opened to all of the possibilities that lie ahead for him now in his mind, because even though they were always there. But, he really saw a way to be able to take advantage of some of those experiences in a really kind of a carefree way, in a sense where he wouldn't have to be burdened by the fact of, okay, I'm in a wheelchair, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I want to ask you, kind of walk us through the workflow a little bit. So let's say there's a listener who, has had a stroke, maybe, they don't move as quickly as they used to. Maybe they're in a wheelchair or something like that. And, they want to go places and do things, but they just don't want to, they don't want to feel like they're being a burden, like maybe a burden to their caregiver, because they know there's going to have to be a lot of arrangements to be made, ahead of time, that there's a handicap accessible room or things like that. Or even someone who wants to travel, but, they have to worry about, well, how am I going to, once I get there, how am I going to find a cab or an Uber that's going to be able to accommodate the wheelchair or whatever it is? Talk us through a little bit of what you do and to help, make that transition and make those travel arrangements easier.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I've really come to love over the years that I've been doing this is the ability I have and the opportunity I have to educate people. And not only teach them how to do these things, but to teach them how to be proactive, because ultimately the end result lies with them. But, we try to give them those tools. So I always welcome phone calls and emails. Even if somebody emails me, I'll always respond with, please give me your number, because you get so much more out of it if you can talk to people. My clients are all over the country, so oftentimes I don't get to meet them face to face. So I have to ask probing questions and personal questions many times, and I ask them to respond in kind, that they should ask questions, but also they need to be honest with me, with their answers, so we can best prepare something. Nobody's a burden. It's just knowing how to do this. And it's a very scary thing, because, they're people's biggest contacts when they first become ill or disabled is with their doctors. And unfortunately, doctors don't know about this part of it. Even physical therapists, really don't know what's out there for them.
Right.
So getting the word out, and again, that's why the Abilities Expo has been such a powerful tool, because we meet people and they're honestly shocked when they come up to our booth and they don't realize that somebody like me exists, that this kind of service exists, and that they can do these things. I mean, we have people stand there or sit there in their wheelchairs and cry because
because you're opening the world to them again.
Over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we can provide hospital beds, Hoyer lifts, with other companies that we work in conjunction with. It can be done. Our biggest challenge are people who don't want to fly. Because, we'll get somebody in the middle of the country and they want to go and do, but for whatever reason, they don't want to fly. And sometimes those reasons are quite valid, and sometimes it's just fear. If it's fear, we try to, kind of talk them down.
Sure.
But, that would be my biggest challenge in working with people if they're not, because cruises are often the best first option for a newly disabled person because it's so easy. But they have to be able to get to the cruise ship.
Sure. And that's another thing. Talk a little bit about some of the great places that you've gone. I mean,
lots of places.
Unbelievable.
Well, we've done land trips to Israel and Ireland and South Africa, which was a safari just this past year. We are repeating Israel next year. We'll probably do Ireland again in 2021. We're doing South Africa in October of this year, and we still have room on that. We do a lot of cruises. We've cruised to the Mediterranean, to Northern Europe. We're taking a large group to British Isles in June. That trip is sold out. We go to Alaska about every year. We have room on our Alaska trip for August of 2019. That is probably the most accessible destination that we can send anybody to. It's just really easy, and so many people want to go to Alaska, so it's a great opportunity and a great option.
Well, I know, we've even spoken briefly about having kind of a life after stroke cruise of some type, and you and I are certainly going to talk a little bit more about that in the future.
Yeah.
But let me also ask this too. What if somebody wants to travel, but, maybe there's not a group going at the moment, but they want to travel now? Can you arrange accommodations for them, even if they just want to kind of go individually on their own? Can you help them?
Of course, and we do that all the time. That's probably the majority of what we do, and it's a great question. Yes, so the answer is absolutely. And we do everything for them that we do on our groups, other than we're not there with them.
Right.
You know? So, but we arrange as part of our services, and we don't charge a service fee, and we don't charge extra for the extra things that we offer our clients. We don't just get them a cabin on a cruise ship. Anybody can do that. But we make sure we put them on the right ship, the right cruise line, most importantly, the right itinerary. And by that I mean it has to be an itinerary where if they're mobility impaired, we don't want them tendering, which means they get into a small boat to get to land. We want all their ports docked so it's easy to get on and off. And then we help arrange private, or not necessarily private, but accessible shore excursions, whether it's through the cruise line or private. We can do it both ways.
So when they get to the port, if they want to go somewhere once they get to the port, you can arrange to have the suitable transportation for them when they get there.
Of course. Right. And also from the airport to the ship or the hotel, all those pieces.
Right. That could be kind of enough to make somebody not want to travel, because it's like, oh gosh, I'm, all the parts and pieces that you have to try to put together. And, if you're a stroke survivor, you might feel like, well, my caregiver has enough to do. I don't want to push them, or there's just a lot that may have to go into some of those arrangements.
Yeah, that's why the name of my company is Easy Access Travel. We try to make it very easy and accessible and give them the tools so that these things go smoothly.
Absolutely.
And they know what to do when they get there. If something doesn't go as planned, they're armed with the right phone numbers and information.
Well, truth be told, you guys, this whole thing was a little bit of a setup for all of you listening, because I have heard more times than not about how a lot of stroke survivors, just become homebodies, and they're too afraid to go out because, you know, they don't want to get into a situation where they're not going to be able to get into some place or get up a ramp or get up some steps or something like that. And when I heard about Deborah and what she does, I was like, I got to have her on the show, because I want all of you who are listening who have just been so housebound to get out of that house and go live life. And so here is a perfect example of someone who can help you, who can take all the busy work of trying to make all those other little extra arrangements that might be a pain in the neck to do, or maybe, you know, you don't want to tax your caregiver to have to put them on the mission to fill in all these holes and blanks. Deborah's here to do that. So Deborah, give everyone the website address so they can go and check out those great pictures from all the places you've been. I looked at
okay.
It's so awesome.
Sure. So it's easyaccesstravel.com, and it's all spelled out, EASYACCESS travel.com. But just one more thing, Chris.
Sure,
you know, I always respect people's fears, because those fears are real.
Mm-hmm.
And fear of the unknown is very real. And very much validated. We all have that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why using somebody like myself is very important.
Right.
And, you know, like I said, feel free to call me, ask me questions. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I was going to say that, you know, if somebody, you know, if you guys listening and you're thinking about it and you're like, oh boy, you know, but I don't know, you know, call Deborah. I mean, just call her. She's been on enough of these trips. She can kind of give you enough information as to things you might need to think about, be concerned about. You know, she can answer all those questions and things like that. And I'm sure, you know, she's more than happy to answer those questions for you. So definitely take advantage of that. Again, her website is easyaccesstravel.com. We'll have the link on the strokechannel.tv website. And I am just a fan of Deborah's. Deborah, I just think what you're doing is so awesome. It's worth it, everybody, to just go to her website and look at the pictures of the places they've been. It is just amazing, and it's beautiful, and it's just so awesome. Deborah, you and I are going to be talking soon, because I want to put together a Life After Stroke cruise of some type. So
okay.
I definitely
we need to get you on a trip, Chris.
Absolutely, and get all of our listeners to come meet up with us and hang out. We're just going to have just a big fun weekend doing something. I don't know where we're going to do it, but we're going to do something, and we're going to do it with Deborah. So anyway, that's the scoop on that. Deborah, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, and everybody sit tight. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back to Life After Stroke. I'm Christopher Ewing. Today our guest is David Korse. He is the CEO of Abilities Expo. And David, it has just been so cool to talk to some of the people who have been a part of your expo. I mean, this is just like a little hint, you guys, just like a little piece of just some of the cool people that just have these really cool products and things that are at David's Expo.
Christopher, we're just so lucky. I guess the thing that we say to people all the time when they ask us about doing this for a job, this is way better than a real job. We get to be surrounded by inspirational people who are, I guess I'll say it a different way. The people who tend to engage with the shows, whether they're exhibitors or visitors, are people who have made the glass half full decision.
Sure.
Because we all have to do that. The people who are glass half empty tend not to leave their house, tend not to come to the show, tend not to go on a cruise.
Sure.
We try to encourage them to change that, give us a try, and that there is life out there.
Absolutely.
But that's why when you come to the shows, without meaning to steal from Disney, it really is the happiest place on earth in that geography for those 3 days wherever we go.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the thing that I think was really cool for me to see too was that there were so many booths that had really helpful things that could really make life easy for a lot of people, you know. I thought that was really cool. And then another thing that really I thought was awesome, there was a big vendor there that was doing free wheelchair repairs. I mean, ball bearings and rocker arms. I mean, they were doing like all kinds of stuff, and they just had a line of people, and I mean, they were just like, you know, okay, so what can I do for you? And it was just so cool to see just this whole awesome community just helping each other, and it was just awesome.
Well, yeah, that's a company called Frog Legs. They do it at all of our shows. They do free wheelchair repair. Pride Mobility offers free loaner electric scooters.
So if you come to the expo,
free,
and it's a lot of walking space there.
First come, first serve.
Okay.
They're free. There's so many things that are free, and people that are just reaching out to try and figure out a way to make it better. What Deborah said it just encapsulates everything. It's about, all right, now what do I do? I may have to do it differently, but I'm not done yet.
Right.
How do I engage? And that's what we're about.
And a lot of these vendors have some really cool alternatives that you may have not have known was out there for you.
Well, a lot of them, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, right.
A lot of our exhibitors, as you saw, are people with a disability, and a lot of those products were developed by somebody who's trying to solve a problem.
Sure.
And that problem turned into an invention. Maybe one of the best stories, you saw all these accessible vehicles at the show. One of the larger manufacturers is a company called Braun Ability.
Braun Ability, sure.
Their founder, Ralph Braun,
great story,
did one of the very first accessible vehicles, but the inspiration for his invention was the old television show Ironside from back in the 60s. I guess Raymond Burr was a detective in a wheelchair, and they built this whole van for him with an elevator so he could get around. And he saw that and said, oh my God, that's a better mousetrap.
Yeah, right.
So it's just people figure things out, and then like with Travel Scoot, they figured out a better way of going about it.
Yes.
And said, this works, give it a try.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the dates again. So, and because there's really one reachable by almost anybody in the United States. I mean, they're really all over the country, so well placed. Coming up in Toronto.
Toronto is the first weekend of April. We're outside of New York City in Edison, New Jersey, the first weekend of May. We're outside of Chicago in Schaumburg, Illinois, the third weekend of June. We're at NRG Center, where the Texans play football in Houston on the first weekend of August. Early in September, we'll be in Boston.
Yep.
Really good seafood close by. We'll be up near San Francisco and San Mateo the last weekend of October. And second weekend of December, we finish the year in Dallas, and then we start all over again in February, third week, back at the Los Angeles Convention Center next year.
Absolutely. And we are going to catch up with you in New Jersey May 3rd through the 5th. We're really looking forward to that.
2 months away, and we're looking forward to it. I'll catch up with you about the details later.
Absolutely. And so we're going to be broadcasting from that show. I'd love to meet you guys, so definitely come by and visit our booth and just stick your head in and say hi. And if you guys are in any of the areas that David just mentioned, definitely plane, trains, and automobiles. Find a way to get to one of these expos. It is really, really awesome. For more information, you can go to his website, which is abilities.com, and you can see all the dates there. You can see pictures and videos from prior expos and stuff like that. All the information is there. Is there a list of some of the vendors there, too, that people can...
Yeah, there's a list of all of the exhibitors for each show because they change from show to show, just right on the website. And a list of all the workshops and a list of all the fun activities like face painters for the kids and a list of all the demonstrations. There's a list of everything and even how to get there and directions.
Well, you guys, there is definitely an Abilities Expo near you, so I totally encourage you guys to look them up and try to go there. Tickets are free.
Tickets are free.
You can't beat free. I mean, if you don't like it, he'll give you your money back. So there you go. David, thank you so much for what you do, first of all.
It's my pleasure.
Before I even thank you for coming on the show, I just really want to just thank you so much for what you have done in terms of these expos and just how you're just helping so many thousands and thousands of people all over the country every year. It's just so awesome. Thank you so much.
On behalf of our entire team, you're welcome. It's our pleasure.
Yeah. Well, we've been speaking with David Korse. He is the CEO of Abilities Expo, and definitely look him up again. The website is abilities.com. And that's pretty much it for the show, you guys. So thank you so much for listening. And remember, until next time, there is still a beautiful life after stroke.
This has been a recorded program of an actual stroke support group. The comments expressed are the opinions of the participants and not necessarily the opinions of the producers, sponsors, or the broadcasters of this show. This program is not to be used as a way to diagnose or treat any medical condition that you may have. Please consult your doctor or healthcare professional before making any changes to your current medical routine.